Let's bring in Dr. Musa Chibwana from Save the Children's, a regional humanitarian group. He's the Policy Advocacy Campaigns Manager with that. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger, for having us here.
What is the situation in Sudan? What are you hearing from your colleagues?
Yeah, thank you so much. Since the conflict broke in April of 15 April in 2023, there have been massive displacement of people, and more than 10.7 million people have been displaced from their houses, from their livelihoods, from their ecosystems of existence. And of these, 1.7 million have gone to neighboring countries which are equally facing challenges of their own, such as Chad, such as South Sudan, such as Ethiopia, who are also grappling with conflict of one nature or the other. There have been about 15,000 people that have been killed and still counting since the conflict is still ongoing. And about 25 million people, Roger, within Sudan are in need of humanitarian assistance. So we are faced with a potentially catastrophic humanitarian situation that would require the world to pay attention to it. And one of the critical aspects that is missing, especially for children, is that about 21 million children are not able to access school, which is a missed opportunity, a missed window for them to go to school and then chart their courses for their own lives going into the future. So this is a critical situation that we are dealing with in Sudan, and we have a situation of more than 700,000 children facing acute malnutrition, and that's devastating. Yeah.
Now, there is a humanitarian corridor, but is aid getting through there?
Yeah, one of the challenges we have been facing is that since the start of the conflict, more than 71% of the areas or the states that need attention, that need humanitarian support, we have not been able to access. Those of the children were working in 12 of the 18 states, but it has been difficult to access the people who are in need of humanitarian support, because I think parties to the conflict are not respecting international humanitarian law, which should protect the humanitarian corridors that would have been opened. But right now we know that in the border with Chad, there has been a humanitarian corridor that had been negotiated, but due to violence and or attacks on humanitarian convoys to access the people, it has been difficult to get assistance to the people.
And the crops, there was also concerns about crop failures as well this year.
Indeed, 2023 into 2024 seasonal year has been regarded as an El Nino. So there have been massive flooding. There's been also droughts, killing livestock, which means the livelihoods of people compounded by the conflict, especially in Al Jazeera state, where it is the breadbasket of Sudan. That's one of the epicenters of the fighting, which means there's no productivity that is ongoing in Al Jazeera state, which is able to provide food to the rest of the country. So this compounds the situation, the flooding, the conflict, the cholera outbreaks, and then also parties to the conflict who are unrelenting, who are targeting also civilians, who are also targeting humanitarian aid that is getting into the country to help those in need. It's not helping the situation, Roger.
And before we go, what can countries like Canada do to help? What would you like to see?
Yeah, there are three things. The first thing is to stop the war. There's a reason why this conflict has taken more than a year. It's because there are parties or in the world that are fueling, that are giving oxygen to this conflict. We need to find a political solution to the conflict, because the military solution has proven that it's not working. It is destructive. So if Canada can explore talking to the parties to the conflict to find an amicable solution to it, that's critical. The second call to action is an arms embargo. The conflict is ongoing because there is a supply of weapons from somewhere. if Canada can work with its friends in the global community to make sure that there is an arms embargo on Sudan, that will help in limiting damage. The last aspect, Roger, the last aspect is around making sure that humanitarian funding is given. Right now, only 10% of the funding required is available. So we appeal even to Canada to invest a lot more resources for the humanitarian crisis in Sudan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you, Roger.
Dr. Musa Chibwana is with the Save the Children's Fund.